What's up? Welcome in. Hoge and Jahns with you in a very short week. Quick turnaround to Thursday. Bears and Commanders coming off, both teams coming off tough losses on Sunday. Both teams badly wanting a win on Thursday. The Bears really need one. And we got a special episode for you today because we did something cool on the side on our YouTube channel. And now we're bringing Josh Lucas into the podcast as well. Local media star, Josh Lucas. Can I call you that now?
I'm trying. I'm getting there. I don't know about the star. You just lots of reps.
Local media guy, Josh.
It's amazing how many people want you to come talk when you do it for free.
Yeah.
I'm very popular right now.
Yeah. We'll have to work on that. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on the pod. We had a great conversation a little over a month ago that honestly was evergreen enough that if you happen to miss that episode, I'd go back in our feed and check it out. You can find it here on the YouTube channel as well if you're watching, because we got into a lot of good stuff there, big picture wise with this team. Today, as the Bears try to turn the page to this game Thursday, on our YouTube channel, I realize a lot of you are listening to this as a podcast. So whenever you get a chance, I would encourage you to go check out the video we did. We broke down some film. Josh was kind enough to jump on and actually break down some plays from Sunday's game against the Broncos. Obviously, that doesn't really translate to listening to a podcast. So go check that out separately. But we are going to talk about sort of our conclusions from watching some of those clips here. Jahns, I know you have a lot of questions, so I'll let you jump in.
I want to start with Justin Fields and the hesitation he shows on film, Josh. You had two examples in our film review episode that's on YouTube right now, but there's multiple examples, maybe more than a dozen of them on film so far over 4 games. Like, how does he get rid of that? Like, what do you see? Like, what does your scout eye tell you about the hesitation and where it's coming from?
Yeah, so it's playing on time, playing in the flow of the offense. In the past game, to me, and I've said this to you a lot, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but because I don't think it's dead, it's confidence and trust. And what I liked on Sunday versus Denver is you saw several examples of him getting the ball and getting it out on time, regardless of the pressure around him. Maybe the receivers weren't as open as you would like, that smaller window you see in the NFL. Confidence and trust. He just still in a huge moment on Sunday. We just talked about it, the 1st and 10 where he got the intentional grounding. You saw it rear its ugly head again. He has to clean that up. He just does. And I saw enough of it on Sunday to think that it's getting better. And I can't say like this is a permanent, ingrained weakness of his that's never going to change, because I don't believe that. They just have to keep building it with him, and there's things you can do in practice to stimulate, hey, just get the ball out. You got to trust it. Like, the scheme is going to give you throws every week. Every week. You watch any NFL team, even the teams that we would label as, hey, that offensive play caller is not very creative. He's not helping out his quarterback or his offense. Even those games, like, you can see it at the top of the drop. There's places to throw the ball, especially in the short to intermediate game. And with Justin, for whatever reason, I feel like his eyes are there, and we just see this like little pause, this little deliberate, delay before he lets go of the ball. And to me, that's just like trusting that it's going to work. I don't think it's a permanent like flaw. And I want to believe that, and I'm going to keep believing it. And obviously he's got to show it, as we move forward here with the next 13 games.
So you've been in those meetings, like you've been in Hallis Hall, you were in New Orleans, where the coaches, scouts, front office is together. Like, what are they telling him in those moments? Like when he hits the top of his drop and his eyes seem to be in the right place. What are they saying? Like, just trust it, let it go. Like, what are they telling him in that moment?
I promise you that word is coming out of Luke Getsy's mouth when they're watching that tape. When they watch that play we just saw on 1st and 10 on their final drive where he takes the intentional grounding, the robber came down and took Mooney away on the cross, which was the first read in the progression. His eyes went right to Tyler Scott. He starts to hitch, and I don't know if the pressure spooked him. I don't know if he thought it's too tight of a window to throw it into. He's just got to trust. You're going to throw the ball into these situations that are going to be 50-50. That's NFL football. Got to let go, because when he doesn't, we're seeing the negative ramifications. It leads to hits that lead to turnovers. It leads to intentional groundings. These are game-changing plays. So trust is the word, I promise you, that's being yelled over and over to him when they're watching tape on a Monday.
Well, and that play was a perfect example of a lot of the underlying issues that because the pass protection wasn't good on that play. But as we break down on the film, right there at the top of his drop, there is a NFL open wide receiver, not wide open, NFL open. And it's just, those are the types of throws that he's got to trust that if he lets it go, it's at least going to be incomplete, because instead the rest of that play is an intentional grounding, which was just brutal in that situation. So I found that interesting as we broke it down, Josh, because you had more concern about that play than the interception, which was next. And I agree with you, because the conversation last couple of weeks has been about Justin playing more free, being able to improvise a little bit more. And that interception was more of an improvisation that it's just unfortunate he and the tight end were not on the same page.
100%. That play doesn't bother me. You want the ball placement to be a little better. I don't know how they're repping that every day based on the leverage of the DB. 85 has to do a better job of boxing that guy out. Just bottom line. And 22 made a vet play. 22 knows 85 is about to box him out. And like a smaller guy on the basketball court that needs to get around a bigger guy, you're savvy, you're quick, and you find a way to get around him. There is an anticipation on that throw, which you like to see. I thought in the first 3 quarters of that game, where you were seeing anticipatory throws, where you're seeing him help compensate for pressure by getting the ball off on time, there was a confidence to him that when the moment got big in the fourth quarter, I thought he started to tighten up a little bit. And I know that fumble for a touchdown causes pressure. You're starting to feel the weight of the pressure on the sideline and in the building. And I think as he went on the last few drives, you started to see more of the deliberate hesitation and not just playing free like we saw in the first 3 quarters. So put it together for 4 straight quarters, finish a game with everything that went on with the defense, as bad as it was late in the game. High-level NFL quarterbacks find a way to win that game. If you watch the Sunday night game, Mahomes wasn't playing like Mahomes for 3 quarters. At the end of the game, when they needed to run clock, he found a way to win the game. You can win ugly sometimes. It's totally fine. Justin, in the biggest moments, reverted back to some of those bad habits. And that's a quarterback that you can't build and trust going forward. If he doesn't show, he can put together complete game after complete game and stack high-level performances one after another. It can't be up and down. It can't be uneven. Not at that position. You can get away with it at the other 10 positions, but not at that position. It's got to be consistent. Obviously, guys have tough games. Sometimes you go up against a great defense. Sometimes the defensive coordinator has the offensive coordinator's number. You can't control that. But high-level quarterbacking is consistent week in and week out. And right now, they're just not getting that.
So how do you want him to – how should the Bears want him to process this? Does it help to be on a short week? Because you look at his final numbers, and it was the best passing game of his career. His first 300-yard passing game, 28 for 35, 335 yards passing. He completed a franchise record, right? 16 consecutive passes in a row, 4 touchdowns, 132.7 passer rating. The numbers look great. A lot of the stuff he did looks great. But then it was a loss. How would you want him to process it? And then how would you view having a game in a matter of days, with the Thursday night football game coming up in Washington.
So you guys have both hit on it, and I totally agree. For the quarterback right now, I do think the short week is advantageous. I really do, because you're right into the next game plan, and it's 100 miles an hour Washington. We're not looking back. A lot of times they don't even review that game with the players on this short week because you're right into the next game plan. If you're in that quarterback room, if you're in those offensive meetings with the team, they have to be coaching off the success of that game. You have to coach off the first 3 quarters. There was a lot of good. We just talked about a lot of it. Playing on time, playing in rhythm. He made several plays off script. The touchdown pass to Herbert. That's him. That's him creating plays. I love the second touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. Going towards the pylon, he slows up a little bit, allows his receivers to uncover themselves, dumps the ball to Cole. Playing on time, huge. Playing and making plays off script, imperative. Both those things we saw. Now, third down performance. He played really well on third down. He really did throughout the entire game. It was very impressive to see. He picked up a huge first down, late in the game with his legs. He made several nice throws to pick up first downs. Obviously, we expected it to be better against Denver because they're a team that doesn't pressure the passer really well. But as this Bears offensive line starts to get healthier, they're going to start protecting better. He's going to have time. The final piece, you have to eliminate turnovers. You have to eliminate turnovers. So you got the 2 parts we talked about first, playing on time and being creative and making plays off script. That has to mesh together. Guys are graded on third down, 2-minute, and eliminating turnovers. We saw the third down. We saw him not perform at a high enough level on the final 2-minute, and we saw him turn the ball over twice in the fourth quarter. So this is where the unevenness is presented and where he has to be able to eliminate the negative, because there was so much good. I think they're coaching right now off of all that positive, and you're just trying to get him to replicate what he did this past Sunday on Thursday night. And if he can start stacking them and get confidence, and here's what's going to really help Justin Fields right now. The offensive line is going to get back intact. I saw a run game that looked healthy and confident on Sunday, and that's going to give him a lot of breather throws through play action and everything. So they just got to start building it and stay positive and optimistic, because right now, you got to completely shut out that outside noise, and it's got to be all football, all what he did well on Sunday, and just eliminate the negatives and eliminate the distractions.
All right, so I think 90% of the people watching and listening to this already know who Josh Lucas is, but I just want to make sure everyone knows he was the director of player personnel under Ryan Pace, the last regime, part of the group that drafted Justin Fields. So with that in mind, I want to ask you this question, because, as you were breaking down the film, as you were talking here, you still feel like he can break through, figure out NFL open, trust those throws a little bit more, speed things up a little bit. You've talked to us about this before, being honest in your evaluation when you guys drafted Justin, that speed, that process, those were on the list of concerns when you guys evaluated him. How do you, when you say you still are holding out that hope that he can break through, I'm always fascinated by this part of it. How much of that is you drafted this guy, you want it to work, versus what maybe Ryan Poles is thinking, which is, I'm not the guy that drafted this. How does that patience level compare? Do you see what I'm getting at there, and how patient maybe this current front office might be with him?
That's a valid question. There's a lot of truth to it. Obviously, I'm always going to want him to succeed. I'm trying to be as fair as possible when I'm speaking publicly about him. I'm trying to highlight the positives and the negatives. The reason I continue to be on the positive side, and because I see it, we talked about it in the Tampa game, the no throw to Roshan, the play heard around the world. The very same game, fourth quarter, bigger moment, exact same concept, harder read. banged it on Claypool for a touchdown. So like, but it can't be a mistake and then followed by a good play. It's got to be good play, good play, good play. So I'm seeing growth. We saw it on Sunday. Obviously, I'm always going to be glass half full. On the inside, let's just be real. Like this is interesting for me, for us following this from outside the building. This is interesting. It's not his guy. They're setting up to have 2 incredibly high picks. There is one quarterback in this next draft class that is truly special. Truly special. So I hear what you're saying. I don't know what they're thinking, but it's real. And they're going to have, trust me, they'll have less patience for Justin Fields than I'm going to ever report in the media because it's not their guy. It's simple as that. Like that's a real thing. And if you're setting yourself up and you can possibly get the top player in the draft, because to me, this next draft class reminds me of 2021. There's one guy you know is going 1. That's a special player playing at a big school, has all the physical qualities. The tape's unbelievable. And then you have a bunch of talented guys that have holes and issues that'll be much more risky. If you're inside that building, thinking long-term, moving Justin at some point in time this season at least has to come up in a discussion. It does. Like you're 0-4. It benefits you for him to play better than he's been playing, to stack some good games, to increase his value, whether it's during this season, after the season. And look, you're the GM of the Chicago Bears right now. You got to look out for the future of the Chicago. What is in the best interest of the Chicago Bears? And that means having a lot of really difficult, tough discussions. You have to talk about every scenario possible. And that, I would believe, is going to start happening in that building. And it's difficult too, because you're benefited from losing, but you don't want the culture of losing to seep into your building, which we saw on Sunday. Winning teams don't lose that game. Teams that know how to lose that game. So you have a very, very delicate balance here of what's best positioning us to get the players we need to build a roster that can win a championship versus this culture and how fragile it is. The head coach doesn't want to lose. The head coach knows if they're picking 1 next year that he's not going to be here. So like it's real. Like this is very real stuff that you guys are going to talk about. And he'll get up at a press conference and he'll say all the things that he needs to say in front of the media, which he should. But there's real conversations going in there, and obviously he's going to be less tied to the quarterback than if it was someone who actually drafted the guy.
Yeah, I think where I'm curious is like at what point has Ryan Poles already watched maybe 1 game film of Caleb Williams at this point? I know it's only halfway through the college season, but there's a big game against Notre Dame coming up. It's only a 2-hour drive away from Chicago, or maybe 2.5 from Lake Forest. And you know, I'm again, you've been in the building. I imagine at least someone high up in that organization has seen a lot of Caleb Williams at this point, right? Like you would have to assume that. Yeah,
without a doubt. And you knew going into the year, even though they made the decision to go with Justin, and obviously I don't think, my guess is going into the season, they thought they were going to be way more competitive.
Yeah.
They're in a wide open division that has no dominant quarterback. So you have a chance to win your division every year until someone solidifies themselves as that guy. And you knew you were going to have Carolina's pick. So you know there's a chance, even if you play well and have a winning season or a 500 season, you're going to be picking in the top 10. Really good chance. So even before this started, those top 5 or 6 names in this draft, they're all over them. I promise you, they're all over them. Even if they know right now or thought Justin is the long-term guy, they're still going to be aggressively making sure they have all those 6 or 7 players, whatever there is, like every ounce of information you can, eyeballs on them. You got to have eyeballs live on a quarterback. I promise you they've had guys in attendance at SC, and they will continue to have them going forward. Same with Texas, same with UNC, same with Michigan, Washington. They're going to cover their bases, even if at this point they thought Justin was going to be the guy going forward.
So before we let you go here, we did break down some of the defense too, and I want to hit on that before we get out of here. So it wasn't just Justin Fields' film we looked at in the breakdown on the YouTube channel. It's also some of the defense. My biggest question to you as we broke down those few plays was, on one play you brought up the two linebackers they've signed can't get the stop, or TJ Edwards didn't get enough of a drop. Jaquan Brisker's maybe not 100% right now. It doesn't quite look like the same guy. They're not getting pressure up front. You mentioned Dominique Robinson really only has like one move at this point. Andrew Billings, who's supposed to be their big giant run stuffing one technique, is maybe their best interior pass rusher at this point. I'm bringing all these things up because it's like you're Matt Eberflus. You lost your defensive coordinator. You're now calling the plays. What can you even, like, when we talk about Justin, we talk about room for improvement. I'm struggling to see how this defense can break through and start to play better this season.
Yeah, that's valid, and it's hard when your front seven isn't making impactful plays. It's really hard, even when you're whole in your secondary, which was going to be the strength of the team. It's hard to compensate for a lack of impact on the front. The one thing they do well right now, I would say, is play the run between the tackles, between the hashes. They're functional to above functional, stopping inside run. They have a lot of good players as far as, being able to play in a box, being able to play off blocks. This is where TJ Edwards, he really is TJ Edwards is a good rundown linebacker. He really is. He's instinctive. He's tough. He makes a ton of tackles. Obviously 49's built well to play off blocks, and Billings is playing at a high level. That's the one thing they do well. They get a little exposed on perimeter run because of their lack of athleticism and speed in their front seven. This is a passing league. It is a passing league. And when you cannot pressure the passer, like, it is long Sunday after long Sunday, and you're seeing quarterback rating after quarterback rating, spiking over 100. You're playing a lot of zone, no pressure, which means voids all over the place. And quarterbacks in the NFL, I don't care who it is, Baker Mayfield or Patrick Mahomes, they're going to find spots. Like, that's just the way it works. And now it's being compounded right now because of this inexperience and youth in the secondary due to all these injuries. They need to be more competitive. They need to find a way to generate some turnovers to give the team a chance. They're going to give up points. Like, that's not going to stop. They just have to be a little bit more competitive. For me, what's happening right now is you have zero impact, disruptive plays being made in the front seven. And those players, like, you don't have to have 7 Pro Bowlers. You don't have to have 7 All-Pros. But you have to have 2 or 3 difference makers, and then that multiplies out. It elevates the players around you that are maybe just average starters or more rotational backup guys, whatever their status is. But when you have nobody disrupting the game, it makes everyone's job extremely hard. And you see it on tape. Everyone's having to labor. There's 2 guys right now on this defense, to me, that are playing at a winning level, like, based on their talent and ability. Billings, to me, is playing at a high level for his ability. He's playing well on rundowns. He's getting some sneaky pressure in there, when he's in the game on passing downs. Jalen Johnson, to me, when he's been out there, has played at a winning level, respectable level. But after that, there's just a bunch of guys that are playing below their level, and they're not making enough plays to really challenge offenses down in and down out. And even in the first half on Sunday, I thought it was more the kickoff returner fumbling the ball and pinning them back, limiting the OC's play calling. I thought it was more self-inflicted wounds from Denver. I didn't really see Chicago's defense like smothering Denver's offense. Like, it almost felt like, you better put this team away because it's going to get going eventually. And it did. So for me, like if you're talking about if you're in the world of I want to see the Bears win some games this year, it's going to have to be on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have to generate 25 plus points a game to give them a chance. And the defense, I think once they get whole and they get some of their secondary players back, they just have to be able to pick spots because they're not going to be able to slow good offenses down for 4 quarters. They don't have the personnel right now. They just don't. And so they're going to have to find a way to be opportunistic, pick spots, a pick here, finish a sack. That's the hardest part to watch. Think about this, guys. We're 4 games into the season. 4 games. It's a quarter of the NFL season. They don't have a sack by a front 4 player where he wins one-on-one versus the blocker and sacks the quarterback. First game, Ngakoue, his little loop around the center coverage sack. And then Sanborn takes advantage of their starting run back being out, creates the pressure, and then Robinson and Pickens are able to clean it up for the sack. They don't have 1 sack in 4 games where the defensive end just whoops the tackle or the 3 technique whoops the guard and finishes on the quarterback. Like in 4 games, you are not going to play successful defense when that's going on. And that's what we're seeing. So they just got to be, like I said, you got to be able to pick some spots and you got to hope the offense generates 25 plus points a game for them to have a chance to win games right now. That's just the reality.
There's one player like you hope, like if you're the Bears, like you want Tremaine Edmunds mentioned and everything you just said, like you want him being a pain in the behind in the middle of the field, right? And when we went through the film of the Broncos game, you highlighted a few things, at least that he's not doing or that's kind of missing from him. And there was another play that we didn't go through, the screenplay where he gets completely blown up, I think, and doesn't make a play. Like, what's going on there? Like, is it just a matter of playing behind, a bad front, playing in the middle of a bad defense right now? Like, how would you evaluate Tremaine Edmunds' game at this point after 4 games?
So Tremaine, I'll just going back to Virginia Tech days, incredible physical specimen, incredible athlete, size, length, explosive, speed, every tool in your tool belt you need physically to be a high-level NFL linebacker. The knock on him was and has always been his instincts. How instinctive of a football player is he? I can't say I studied him in Buffalo, year in and year out. What I've read, what I've heard, he's always been kind of an up and down player in Buffalo. The consistency was lacking. What I'm seeing right now through 4 games is a player who's not anticipating and triggering and making plays. He's not being disruptive. He makes tackles, but he doesn't make game-changing plays. He makes plays that he should make based on the defense they're running. He's really impressive when he's in chase because he does have exceptional speed. But in the run game, I'm not seeing him take on blocks and throw blocks away and make splash plays behind the line of scrimmage. In the pass game, they play a ton of zone coverage. And this is where I'm seeing a player, when you talk about spatial awareness, when you talk about vision, I think he plays very narrow vision. He doesn't see and feel everything around him, and he doesn't anticipate throws. He's a reactionary player. So to me, in his zone, it's throw, catch, tackle, throw, catch, tackle. And then on top of that, we saw on Sunday, he's not finishing tackles because of some poor angles and some, missed tackles in open space. So you have a player who's just picking up some production based on the scheme, but he's not changing the game. He's not impacting the game. A lot of that does have to do with 10 other guys around him that aren't helping create plays as well. But I think you're starting to see some of the warts of this player stand out more when he's not playing behind an exceptional front like he was playing behind in Buffalo. So it's the quarter of the season. Now, let me say this on Tremaine before we wrap up. Robert Quinn, all-time leader in sacks, single season Bears history. First year in Chicago, quiet year. Struggled with the adjustment, struggled with the new defense, struggled with the conditions of COVID and not having some of the amenities he needed to make sure he was dialed in and ready to go. Year 2 breaks a record for sacks. He was unbelievable year 2, not only as a pass rusher, but he also learned to play the run and play effectively in a scheme he wasn't used to playing. I've seen this before. Guys get off the slow starts, new environment, new teammates, new coaches. So give him some time. But I can only tell you what I'm seeing on 4 games of tape. And right now, it's just an average player who's not creating game-changing plays. They need $80 million, basically Roquan's replacement. You need a guy that's going to impact the game, and that is tackles for losses. And in the pass game, that's blitzing the quarterback, covering in man, using that length to break up passes, and being more instinctive in zone and not so reactionary. So give him some time, but right now he's got a lot of ground to cover to earn, the return on the investment that the Bears made this offseason.
Josh, as usual, there's 100 more questions I could ask you, but we really you've been incredible with your time this morning, so we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, everyone should go check out the other video on our YouTube page with the film breakdown, everything from Justin Fields, the offense and defense, everything he was talking about with Tremaine Edmunds in there as well. Really good stuff. Thanks so much, Josh.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, Johns. Well, a lot to react to, honestly, but we got a game to talk about. We got voicemails from Sunday. It's a short week, so hope everybody enjoyed the conversation with Josh Lucas. Please do check out the film breakdown. Let us know what you think about it. Again, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Hopefully we can do more stuff like that in the future as well as we continue to grow that. But we want to bring him here on the pod as well for everybody listening to the podcast, so you get a double dose of Josh Lucas on a short week.
I just love the scout's eye on things. It's just more than what like the play call is and what the read should be. With the drop is in line with the eyes and all that. It's like there's more context, right? It's trying to analyze a player's body language, what he might be feeling from the sideline, from the building. There's just so much there, and he's got 20 plus years of experience. Absolutely love it.
All right. Voicemails from Sunday. Then we'll talk about the Washington Commanders a little bit and preview the game. I'm sure these are fun. Maybe, hey, for 3 quarters, there should be some positive voicemails in here. I don't know about the rest of them, but I'm very intrigued to hear.
It's going to be a roller coaster ride for sure.
Yeah, this should be a roller coaster. Here's your voicemails from Sunday.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Hoge Jahns, it's Beth Bob Dabrowski calling in live reporting here from Soldier Field. Boys, we got the Bears on the scoreboard 7-7 after the most cowardly punt that I have ever seen with these 2 eyeballs of mine. The Bears then took the ball back. Well, the defense gave up a touchdown, but then the Bears took the ball back. They scored a touchdown of their own. We got another 7 or 8 touchdowns left in us. Let's go Chicago Bears. I'm predicting 63-7. Bear down.
Fun? Are we having fun? A flea flicker? Herbert's got to work on his pitch game. He's going to get Fields killed. Bears are back, baby.
Adam Johns' bold prediction of Cole Kmet touchdown scorer happening twice today. Bear down, baby.
Justin Fields, 3 touchdowns already to get us going. It's giving vibes of like the Bucks game where Mitch threw 6 touchdowns. So hopefully we end up with 6. Got to lose 3 to win 14, right, boys? Bear down.
I don't want to tinkle in anyone's cornflakes or anything, but it's halftime, and I'm going to need a lot more than one good half against the Denver Broncos to get me back on their team side.
Hoge Jahns, your average Bears fan calling it defeated. Here we are in week 4. It's a scoop and score, fellas. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. It's 28-28. This team was leading 28-7. This is the kind of stuff that is indicative of your head coach, Matt Eberflus. How are you going to respond?
And right on cue, the Bears are Bearsing.
What's up, Hoge Jahns? What the hell, Getsy? You're getting too freaking predictable.
You've heard of the cardiac cats? Get ready for the botulism Bears. Jesus Christ.
There's 2 minutes left in the game, and I just turned it off. And I don't think I'm going to watch another game for the Chicago Bears the rest of the season.
That was the Bearsiest Bears thing to have ever Bears. God, I hate this team.
I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. And the best part is no one's getting fired because they're going to sit there and go, well, the first half was really good, and we're going to sit here and watch this same team on prime time Thursday. And it's not going to be fun for anyone.
So I think I finally figured this one out. HITS principle. It doesn't stand for hustle, intensity, toughness, or smarts. It actually stands for hang in there, safeties. And I bet you Matt Eberflus has that posted all over Hallis Hall with pictures of kittens hanging off of tree branches. The guy is essentially a bad high school guidance counselor who just keeps referencing some acronym he got at a seminar whenever there's a problem or an issue on the team. He's incompetent. He needs to go. McCaskey's out as well.
It doesn't matter what you do during the game. At the end, it matters. Justin being Justin on the field.
September 30th, 2018, except worse.
Bum ba-dum 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 ba-dum. Bear down, we suck again. The quarterback had a career day and we still lost the game. Bear down, we suck again. It's like the 7th or 8th or 9th or even maybe 10th time that he's had a 2-minute drive to go win the game and he throws an interception.
Season's over. All right. Season's over. This did it for me.
I just hope we fire everyone, and I want to die. Thank you. Sincerely, Bears fan, not from Chicago. Want to die. Hope we fire everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Did we think anything different was going to happen? Oh, my goodness. No, of course not.
Just gutted for Justin. What a performance. Not his fault. The staff let him down today.
Matt Eberflus here, just letting you know we have reworked and rearranged the HITS philosophy. It is now S, sloppy, H, half-assed, I, incompetent, and T, tank for Caleb Williams.
It just keeps getting worse. Week after week, when you think it can't get worse than the last week, it is.
Hey, Bears fans, B-Man here. I was happy to see Justin pop off today, though the coaching could have been a lot better. Bear down!
Hoge Jahns at Bad Stop the Frosty here, calling in from hell. Eberflus to the embarrassment. This team, I don't know if Foles is right or not, who knows? But Eberflus has got to go. Who calls plays? Who's the coach? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Tony Medlin, let him coach the rest of the season. Doesn't matter. Oh, Bears, Caleb Williams, bear down.
Tony Medlin for head coach. Why not?
Experience.
Yeah, I mean, no one knows the building better than that guy. Man, it's grim there. I mean, I can't
Bears
blame
fandom or
yeah,
Hallis
I mean,
Hall.
really. I'm glad the voicemail line is a place to vent because you need it probably. All right.
Anyway, who cares?
Let's I guess get to our 3 big questions.
3 big questions. Number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, Adam Hogue, how much have the Bears missed left guard Tevin Jenkins over the first 4 weeks? 10 being the highest, of course.
9. I think they miss him a lot. I think this is a better offensive line if you get Cody Whitehair back to center. I realize it's not perfect there, but Tevin Jenkins is a good player. And I think your left guard position's better with him in there. I think your center position's better. And if you're looking for some optimism with the offensive line, I think that makes a difference. Now, the problem is, can he come back and play the rest of the season? Can he play every game the rest of the year? I don't know. I don't know. I think based on what we've seen in his career, that's asking a lot to assume that. I hope that's the case. I've said it a million times. I love watching Tevin Jenkins play football. I think his tape is so fun to watch, but he's got to stay healthy.
So Tevin Jenkins on Monday was designated to return from IR from his calf injury.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect him to be on the field sooner rather than later. He's been around the team. He's been in the locker room. We've seen him do stuff on his own on the field. So his return is coming soon. And I agree with you. I was going to say 8.5, 9 as well. They have missed him. I think he's a difference maker, a pancake machine there in the middle of the Bears offensive line.
I mean, I'd love to be able to get him out there on Thursday. I don't know if that's realistic for a guy that's been out with a leg injury. I don't know how much. I don't know how much his conditioning, where his conditioning's at. They really only have one somewhat real practice this week. It's walkthrough yesterday, walkthrough today, practice tomorrow, but it's like their short Friday practice, right? So, to throw a guy that hasn't played in a practice out there Thursday night without, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't completely rule it out, but if you think about you hold him out of this game, you try to get through one more game with this offensive line. Well, now you have you got a mini bye, and I would think you'd be ready to go by the next game.
Number 2. What do you make of Tyson Bagent being the new backup quarterback?
Do you think that there's any chance that some of that had to do with motivation for Justin Fields?
I thought the same. I thought the same.
And all of a sudden he comes out, has this great game. I'm not saying it was because they elevated Tyson Bagent, but sometimes it's okay to put some pressure on a guy. Competition, coaches say it all the time. Competition is best for everybody. I have to wonder if some of that had something to do with that. Just let's put the foot on the gas here a little bit. I also wonder how much, Justin getting banged up briefly in Kansas City made them realize, oh, wait, yeah, if that happens, Nathan Peterman's in the game? Come on. So, and I also think part of it is what Matt Eberflus said, that he's continued to look good in practice. But let's be honest, what is that? That's this time of year. That's him running the scout team. He's been doing a great job running the scout team. So I think it might be all of the above of the things I just said.
Yes, there is a difference between having an old veteran who has had his chance, a couple chances in the NFL, and then a young rookie who has impressed the team at various points, whether it's training camp, the preseason, or now running the scout team. I just think that should feel different in the quarterback room. And if he's earned that, he's definitely earning the trust of Luke Getsy. All right, number 3. Who was thinking about the first overall pick and maybe even the second pick more? George McCaskey, Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, or Justin Fields?
I hope the answer is Ryan Poles. I don't know why George or Kevin would be too worried. It goes back to the conversation we just had with Josh Lucas, right? Like, if you're in that building right now, if you're in that front office, I mean, that was some not stunning stuff, but sort of jarring to hear. If you're doing your job properly in those meetings in the front office, you at least have to have the discussion about, does it make sense for us to move Justin Fields? If we don't believe he's the guy and he still has value and we can get Caleb Williams, and as Josh said, if you're doing your job correctly, you're at least having those hypothetical discussions in the building. So I hope it's at least on Ryan Poles' mind a little bit. So they're at least flushing out ideas. So they're sending scouts in the right places. So they're getting the full evaluation they possibly can here. And if I had to rank 1 through 4 with those guys you just mentioned, I hope Justin Fields is thinking about it the least.
You would hope.
Yeah.
You would hope. That's staying off social media. It's not reading anything. It's not watching TV. Because it's everywhere at this point. The Bears have the first pick and the second pick. And as our friend Josh Lucas said, even if Justin Fields is playing well, the Bears have to invest some time and resource into evaluating. Like, he rambled off a bunch of schools. Those are a bunch of schools that have good quarterbacks playing collegiately right now.
Yeah.
You have to do your homework because of the situation you're in. Panthers are going to give you a very high pick. You may have a very high pick. You have to be prepared for everything.
All right, let's get to our over-unders.
Let's roll these. All right.
Yeah.
This is for the Bears show. Over-under on the Claypool situation brought up on the broadcast. 5.5. I'm going to go under. I think you get about 3 or 4 references of this Claypool situation. I think the Bears want to move past it. I know Chase Claypool should want to move past it. And I don't know. You'll get a few references. He's not playing in the game.
Do you think Claypool is still on the roster by the time this game gets kicked off Thursday?
Good question. I think it's tough to trade him right now.
I think it is too, but what do you have to lose? Just, I guess, money. You just pay him for a few more weeks. Like, think about it. There could be a team that gets some injuries here that gets desperate enough to give you a 6th or 7th round conditional pick. Or do you just send the message? Enough. Goodbye.
Well, that's a good point. Get through this week. See if someone else gets hurt. There was an injury somewhere. No, I'm thinking of the Bills losing Tre'Davious White. I think about trade conversations down the road. I mean, Jalen Johnson, hello, maybe. That's a different podcast. Hello, Hurricane Ditka. Over under on the amount of plays. Hurricane Ditka. Over under on the amount of plays where he let an edge rusher come in unblocked. 2.5. It's going to be a lot because if they keep running this boot game, that's part of the operation, at least in most instances. And it's on Fields to beat that guy. What do you think?
Well, if we're including those, I would say over. Because it's part of the offense. And when you have a quarterback as special as Justin is with his legs, you purposely leave guys unblocked to read, to beat with his legs. And you but that can't happen. You can't get that predictable. Justin had no chance on that play.
They were blitzing the boot. They're up the
Yeah.
field in no time.
And we've been seeing this since the Giants game last year. So you got to come as a play caller, you got to come up with other things so that it doesn't become so predictable or have some type of check out of it when you need to.
This is from Nolan. Over under mentions the Bears' current draft position. I think it's going to be over, but not much, maybe 2. I think you definitely get a graphic of some sort showing where they are right now.
Yeah, just the fact that they're 1 and 2, I think, is the draw. Otherwise, I don't think this comes up this early in the season on a broadcast, but and don't forget, this is an Amazon Prime game. They got all these next gen stats and cool graphics they put up there. Like, they might be like probability to have the 1 and 2 picks at this point. I don't know. They might have something like that.
This is from Ben. Over under and mentions of Caleb Williams, 1.5. I think you get, if we're counting like the pregame and postgame show, he's coming up in conversation.
Yeah.
He just will. He's that good. As Josh highlighted, he is by far the best quarterback in this class. Surefire number 1 overall pick. Like, he's going to be brought up continuously as part of the Bears conversation, I think, from now on.
I'm going to say under. I'm going to say 1 mention on the actual game broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to throw in pregame, all that stuff, they have a big. Yeah,
it's a big shows, on the front and back ends of this.
Yeah. All right. Well,
cold predictions.
I am going to say that the Bears, for the second game in a row, have a 100-yard rusher. Not saying who it is, though. I think it might be on the table for Justin, maybe finally. I'm not as... It depends on if... Look, this is a good Commanders defense. Do they adjust, see what the Bears did successfully running the ball, and try to stop that more? Well, if so, then that might open up more opportunities for Justin to keep the ball, because everyone's been playing Justin so much. Either way, I think it should be there somewhere. It's the pass rush I worry about in this game against Justin Fields. That's the matchup I'm most worried about, but I still think there's opportunities to run the ball.
Here's Sam Howell, as the Commanders' starting quarterback, has been sacked 24 times over the first 4 weeks. So, like, here's my bold prediction.
Bold or stupid?
Well, the Bears only get 1 sack. Because I think...
Come on, they had a sack on Sunday. I mean, they split one, but I guess
like
2 sacks in 4 games.
That is bold to say
That's
they
sad.
can't sack. You would think they should be able to sack Sam Howell because he's taking sacks at a bit, like what's that? 6 per game? It's not good.
A higher rate than the Bears?
Yes. So I think the bold thing is actually saying it's going to stay low. So the Bears get 1 sack in this game. Their pass rush problems continue until stated otherwise, until we see otherwise.
Do you know that the Seahawks had more sacks last night than the Bears did all of last season? All last night.
I mean, that's worse than like your Khalil Mack reference from the other show.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Good job by Equinemius St. John. He's going to get the block.
All right. Predictions. I got to say, I have been so hung up on reviewing the Broncos tape. I've not done a good job. Like, hopefully the Bears have done a better job of flipping the script, getting to the Commanders. I am now just realizing that the Commanders are 6-point favorites in this game.
They're not a good team.
The Commanders?
No.
Yeah.
Their defense is good. Their defensive front is good.
But they do have Eric Bieniemy coaching this offense now. They did hang a lot of points on the Eagles. I know they went through a couple games there where they were struggling. They couldn't score on the Bills, but they played some good teams recently.
The Bills, did you see what they did to the Dolphins? The Bills might be what everybody thinks they should be this year.
Yeah. So if they had pulled out that game against the Eagles, I could have seen this setting up as a perfect letdown game. Like, oh, we've gone through some, we went through a tough part of our schedule. We got this huge win over our division rival on the road in Philly. Now we got the Bears on a short week. Like, we're good. We can just go out there and play this game. We'll be all right. The fact that they lost that game, I feel like prevents that from happening. They got to get a win. I think they're just a better team. Sam Howell doesn't really scare me that much, but the Bears defense, we just talked about it with Josh, and it's like, who on the defense right now scares you? So we'll find out more about the injuries. Maybe I feel a little bit different if Eddie Jackson gets back out there and Jalen Johnson, but that seems like it's tough here. I'm going to have the Commanders win this game. I guess I'm going to pick the same score I did last week. Commanders 24, Bears 20. So Bears cover. Unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be another tough loss. This team just doesn't know how to win yet. They got to get off the schneid and get a win. They really badly need it.
Sam Howell and the Commanders put 35 up on the Broncos on the road for a win, 35-33. I'm going to go 27. Let's go 27-24. No, let's go 27-20. Commanders cover. 27-20. Yeah, I still think Justin Fields, he'll look a bit better. The offensive line, if Tevin Jenkins isn't there, is a concern. And I don't I can't see them getting the Sam Howell. If Sam Howell against the Broncos just for some perspective, was 27 for 39, completed nearly 70% of his passes, 1 yard short of 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 108.8 passer rating. So you're thinking those numbers are possible for him in this game. I'm taking Commanders 27-20.
All right. Man.
Talk to you Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be back for post game. You're going to this game, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. It's so excited about it. That stadium sucks. You think the Bears stadium sucks? That stadium is awful. Worst press box view too, I think, in the entire league. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Low and in the end zone.
Yeah. Last time we were there, they had moldy bread served.
Oh. Wow. I mean, from what I've seen on Twitter, Kevin Warren, is he just delivering these plates to you guys in the press box himself? I mean, the fancy menus. What's going on inside that Soldier Field press box?
Well, when the bar is low,
yeah,
it's not exactly difficult to hurdle.
I would say I'd rather have no food than moldy bread.
True.
So, all right. Well, enjoy the trip. We will have you covered here post game, of course, and on CHGO. Check us out. We will have you pre and post right after the game. Hoge Jahns follows that. We'll stay up late, whatever we need to do. Another Bears game, quick turnaround. Again, if you're just listening to this in your car, enjoyed the podcast, enjoyed what Josh Lucas had to say. When you get a chance, go check out the YouTube channel, the film breakdown. I think you'll learn a lot of interesting stuff in there, especially when it comes to Justin Fields, some of the struggles on the Bears defense as well. It's all there for you. And if you're watching right here on YouTube, it's right here on the channel as well. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. We appreciate you very, very much. And if you're listening to the pod, please rate and review. Most importantly, send a link to a friend, text it to a Bears fan going through a tough time right now. Tell them, hey, Bears therapy right here on Hoge Jahns. We got you covered. We'll be back Thursday after this game. Maybe the Bears can finally sneak out a win. I don't know.
We'll see. See ya.